Nearly 9 yards per carry, 513 yards in a single game, and the only player to ever give back the Heisman Trophy. What could force the most electric player in college football history to erase himself? Let's go back to the beginning, to the moment Bush changed the game. When Reggie Bush stepped onto USC's practice field in 2003, nobody expected him to shatter every assumption about what a running back could be. Bush wasn't just another prospect. He was about to transform the game with his unprecedented versatility. Most backs powered through contact. Bush danced through it. He turned broken plays into open fields and made chaos look choreographed. Bush didn't just have speed, he had unpredictability. He blurred positions and broke schemes, redefining how one player could reshape an entire offense. As a freshman, Bush exploded onto the scene with 1,300 all-purpose yards, announcing his arrival as a five-way threat that transformed USC's offense. And 2 years later, he'd deliver the single greatest performance college football had ever seen. By 2005, Bush had reached a level of dominance that bordered on the supernatural. He rushed for over 1,700 yards while averaging 8.7 yards per carry. He caught 37 passes for 478 yards. He returned kicks and punts with the same explosive ability that made him untouchable as a runner. Every time Bush touched the ball, stadiums held their breath. Something magical was about to happen. September 10, 2005. Fresno State showed up to slow down USC. Instead, they got run over by a human highlight reel. Reggie Bush put up 513 all-purpose yards, 294 rushing, 68 receiving, 151 on returns, the second most in NCAA history. That wasn't just dominance. It was a reimagining of offensive football, a one-man highlight reel redefining what a player could do. Bush proved that a single player could dominate every aspect of the game simultaneously. That 513-yard explosion didn't just seal the Heisman, it crowned him as the face of a college football dynasty.
And the Heisman Trophy was at stake.
If you lose this one, no natty.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And Heisman Trophy's at stake too.
He had become a force of nature, a player so dominant that he averaged nearly 9 yards every time he touched the ball. But just as Bush cemented himself as a college football legend, the cracks beneath the surface were about to split wide open. But while Bush was dominating on Saturdays, something darker was brewing. Bush's 2005 Heisman wasn't a contest. It was a coronation. After a season that redefined college football, Bush received 784 first-place votes, obliterating the field. His dominance wasn't just recognized, it was revered. While Bush stood at the podium holding the most prestigious award in amateur sports, investigators were quietly building a case that would turn his crowning moment into a ticking time bomb. Rumors had started to swirl. Questions about his family's housing, a car, quiet whispers with no clear source. Nothing concrete, not yet, but enough to draw the attention of the NCAA. Over the following months, those whispers grew into a full-scale investigation, and what it uncovered would rock the sport to its core. Lloyd Lake, a wannabe agent with a rap sheet, said he gave Bush's family a house, car, and cash, a deal brokered on future NFL stardom. And it wasn't a one-off. It was systemic, stretching across years. USC's compliance team ignored red flags, the car, the housing, the agent ties, creating a perfect storm of negligence. By the time the NCAA pieced it all together, the damage was done. The conclusion was damning. Bush had competed as a professional athlete, violating the sacred amateur code. Every yard, every touchdown, every jaw-dropping highlight had come under a cloud of ineligibility. And the cost? Catastrophic. USC was hit with some of the harshest sanctions in college football history. Postseason bans, lost scholarships, and the ultimate punishment, a decade-long disassociation from Bush, erasing him from their official records. The Heisman once defined Bush's greatness. Now, it symbolized scandal. His rise had turned radioactive. The player who once captivated the country was now at the center of its most controversial fall. And soon, Reggie Bush would be forced to make an impossible choice, one that no Heisman winner had ever faced. By 2010, Reggie Bush stood at a crossroads. The NCAA had delivered its verdict, harsh, final, and public. Bush faced a monumental decision. He could fight the ruling and defend his legacy, or he could make a sacrifice that would rewrite his story forever. He chose the unthinkable. Bush voluntarily forfeited his Heisman Trophy, the first in history to do so. The announcement stunned the sports world. The Heisman wasn't just a trophy. It was college football's crown jewel, a brotherhood linking legends across generations, and Bush had just walked away from it. But this wasn't just about giving back a bronze statue. It was an erasure. His 513-yard masterpiece, gone. His Heisman season, deleted. The record books didn't rewrite history. They scrubbed it clean. One of the most electrifying careers in college football was now officially treated like it never happened. The emotional toll was brutal. Bush later admitted he felt like he'd failed everyone, his teammates who fought beside him, the coaches who built around him, the fans who cheered his every touch.
Have you thought about what might happen in the event they do strip you? I mean, would you give it back if they strip you?
I'm not even thinking about that. I haven't even gone that far.
With the NCAA's ruling, USC had to vacate 14 wins. The 2004 team, once considered one of the greatest ever, was wiped from the books. Bush's sacrifice had become everyone's loss. He was torn. On one hand, he believed in the legitimacy of every yard, every play. His talent was real. But he also accepted the cost of violating the NCAA's rigid amateur rules. Pride collided with guilt, and neither side won. The punishment didn't stop with headlines. His highlights were gone from the Jumbotron. His jersey vanished from the walls. Media guides printed like he never existed. The school was forced to sever all ties for a decade. Reggie Bush, the face of a dynasty, was now treated like a stranger. In a 2020 interview, Bush said the pain still lingered. One of the worst feelings in the world, he called it. I'm still not over that. It's just something you learn to live with. What defines Bush more, winning the Heisman or giving it back? They erased his name, but not his impact. And eventually, the world caught up to the truth. That bronze statue had once crowned him king. Now it sat in a box, somewhere in storage, a symbol of a legend wiped clean. College crowned him a king. The NFL turned him into a casualty. The New Orleans Saints made Reggie Bush the second overall pick in the 2006 NFL Draft, a franchise betting its future on a player already carrying scandal and superstardom. Bush was drafted to be a savior. But the NFL doesn't care about hype, and Sundays hit different. His rookie year exposed the gap between highlight reels and pro defenses. Bush averaged less than 3 yards per carry. The cuts that shredded college defenses stalled at the line. He took a back seat to Deuce McAllister, a veteran with none of the flash but all of the grit. Despite the underwhelming rush stats, Bush led all running backs in receptions halfway through his rookie year and tied a Saints record with 4 touchdowns in one game. The magic wasn't gone, just harder to find. In 2008, that old spark flickered again. 3 punt return touchdowns, all-pro honors, and whispers of a breakout. But then came the injuries. A torn meniscus ended his season. Another surgery followed in 2009. The same legs that powered his signature cuts at USC were starting to give out. Even the Saints' Super Bowl win in 2010 couldn't reverse the trend. Bush touched the ball only once in the championship game, a footnote on a historic night. Weeks earlier, he'd broken a bone returning a punt. The ring was real. So was the pain. In 2011, now in Miami, Bush made one last push. He ran for over 1,000 yards, including a 203-yard eruption against Buffalo. The kind of performance that reminded you why he'd once felt untouchable. But he couldn't sustain it. The damage was too deep. Despite everything, Bush carved out a legacy of rare versatility. He remains the only player in NFL history with 60-plus yard touchdowns in 5 different ways: rushing, receiving, punt return, kickoff return, and fumble recovery. A stat line that felt more like a resume for how he could have changed the game if his body had let him. By 2015, things turned tragic. Playing for the 49ers, Bush slipped on exposed concrete at the Edward Jones Dome and tore his meniscus again. He later won a $12 million lawsuit. But by then, the writing was on the wall.
If you don't get picked up this season, will you retire?
Yeah, I'll retire.
You will
If I don't
retire.
get picked up this season, I'll retire. Yeah,
That's
for
it.
sure. Yeah.
Save your body.
Yep.
Hey.
He retired in 2016, the only non-QB in history to finish a season with negative rushing yards on 10-plus carries. His NFL career had moments of brilliance, but never became what it should have been. The same explosiveness that made him a legend in college became the very thing the league took from him. But while Bush's playing days were ending, the conversation about his legacy was just beginning, because the system that erased his name was finally about to face its own reckoning. Years passed, but the rules changed, and so did the narrative. The very system that punished Reggie Bush had been dismantled. In 2021, the NCAA introduced name, image, and likeness rules, allowing college athletes to profit from their fame in ways that would have been unthinkable during Bush's era. Suddenly, endorsement deals, commercial appearances, and six-figure social media checks weren't violations. They were business as usual. Bush had been erased for doing what today's players now do openly, and for far less. Public opinion flipped fast. Commentators, fans, and former players began asking the obvious question: how could the NCAA celebrate NIL deals while still punishing the player who came before all of it? Bush was no longer a cautionary tale. He had become a symbol of the system's hypocrisy. The pressure built. In 2021, the Supreme Court's ruling in NCAA versus Alston effectively shredded the NCAA's old amateurism model, giving legal weight to everything Bush had fought for. His case now stood as a blueprint for challenging outdated sanctions. The Heisman Trust found itself cornered. How could they justify keeping Bush's trophy stripped while athletes profited under new rules? Their credibility was on the line. They had to reconcile the past with the present, or risk being remembered as part of the problem. But the tide had already turned. NIL had made Bush's punishment look not just outdated, but absurd. Current athletes were earning millions for doing exactly what got Bush erased. The injustice was active, and it demanded a response. And when that response came, it wasn't mercy. It was overdue justice. After 14 years of silence, exile, and erased records, Reggie Bush's name was about to return. On April the 24th, 2024, the Heisman Trust officially reinstated his 2005 trophy, citing the rise of name, image, and likeness rules as justification for an unprecedented reversal. But this was more than the return of a bronze statue. It was a public admission that the system had failed, that Bush's punishment, once seen as necessary, now stood as a relic of outdated thinking. The trust didn't just give him back a trophy, they admitted they got it wrong. With the trophy came restoration. USC's 14 vacated wins were reinstated. The 2004 and 2005 teams were reinserted into the record books. Bush's teammates, once collateral damage in the NCAA's war on amateurism, had their victories returned. Trojan fans celebrated not just a reinstatement, but a reckoning. Historians quickly re-evaluated Bush's place in the game. His 513-yard masterpiece against Fresno State was back in the books. His Heisman season, once scrubbed from memory, was restored in full. The legacy that had been wiped clean was now being rewritten in real time and with clarity. The sports world rallied. Johnny Manziel had once vowed not to attend another Heisman ceremony until Bush was reinstated. Now that protest became a victory lap. The fraternity of winners, past and present, stood in solidarity, a powerful rebuke of the NCAA's past and an endorsement of Bush's rightful place among them. But this moment reached beyond one man. Bush's redemption wasn't just personal, it set precedent. His redemption opened the door for other athletes punished under now obsolete rules to demand reconsideration. Bush's journey from electrifying college talent to sacrificial penalty to eventual vindication represents one of sports' most compelling redemption stories. His willingness to forfeit his Heisman Trophy showed character that transcended football, while his reinstatement proved that justice can prevail even after 14 years. Bush's story didn't end with a trophy, or a stat line, or a ring. It ended with something rarer, the truth finally catching up to the punishment. He gave up everything. He waited 14 years, and when the system changed, it was his name that made it happen. The legacy they tried to erase, it outlasted them all. Was justice finally served? Or was it just 14 years too late? Let us know below. And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe. And next up, another generational talent whose rise and fall shocked the NFL.